Hello and welcome to the Burnout Recovery Introduction. I'm so happy that you're here and I'm grateful that I get to share this resource with you. This mini course is a collection of the last several years that I've spent working with mental health and nutrition as my passion. I do want to start out by laying out an outline for you of what to expect through this course. I was continually asking myself if I could only tell you about 5 things, what would they need to be? I'm always being aware that there is bio-individuality at play, meaning that these steps and solutions that we're going to talk about are not the same for everyone. There is no one-size-fits-all approach to nutrition, to sleep, to supplements, or to environmental changes. We will introduce the topic, share information for minor understanding, as well as some steps to how to improve these specific areas. However, this is not medical advice. Nothing should be changed without consulting your medical practitioner. This is just for informational purposes only. And this is not one-on-one nutrition counseling. Any recommendations that are given are a broad scope and not to be applied to every individual. This is why one-on-one nutrition counseling is so important. We want to alleviate symptoms, but our goal is long-term change. So this comes by way of attacking from multiple angles with multiple resources. My client Nancy, when we first started meeting about her chronic migraines that had been going on for decades, I spent time uncovering her digestive issues that she had been ignoring. And when we first addressed those, that's when the magic happened. She later told me, I didn't understand why you were so focused on my stomach when my head hurt, but now it all makes sense. So there is a very long, exhaustive list of all the many factors to consider when evaluating health. We are going to be breaking this down into the 5 most influential factors that I've seen in my practice, and I'm teaching those to you. My client Erin said, within weeks, I was feeling relief that I haven't felt in years using this same framework that I will be teaching you. So here is the inspiration for the Burnout Recovery Project. This is broken into 5 categories. This is the fundamental framework I created for recovering from burnout. Taking this framework, breaking it down into personalized recommendations is the vehicle to get you where you want to be so that you can experience things like my clients have said. I feel regulated for the first time in 10 years. My joint pain has disappeared. I have energy, I am sleeping better, and my digestion is so much better. I feel like I have so many tools in my tool belt and I'm not reaching for medication anymore. I worked in the heat for hours and I didn't get a headache. I have been able to cut out sugar consumption even during times of extreme stress. But before we get into that, first, we're going to be talking about how to identify if you're struggling with burnout or how to know when you're headed that way. I know if you're here for this, you probably already know what you're dealing with, but there may be some things that you haven't realized before that are actually related. Like my client Katie said, it all makes sense now how everything is related. And that's what nutritional therapists specialize in, is focusing on the whole body healing for drastic change. Some warning signs that you are headed to burnout. You'd be reliant on sugar and caffeine to keep you moving. This one seems that people notice it because it's external, but I've had so many clients say that they didn't realize exactly how bad it was until I asked them to write it down. You have a short fuse, quick bursts of sudden anger. You forget to eat, or you don't want to be bothered to be eating because that's just one more thing on your plate. You can't rest without guilt, and you love to have your schedule super packed. Your racing mind keeps you awake, your to-do list, the worry, etc. You have brain fog, you can't remember simple things, forgetting simple words, difficulty concentrating at work. You struggle to change your body composition, that's a big one. You have strong sugar and salt cravings, and even moments of binging that are going to be related to stress. After you've headed into or been in burnout for quite a while, symptoms look a little bit more like this: lack of connection and drive, absent appetite, lack of interest in things you used to enjoy, poor recovery after workouts, poor stress tolerance, sunlight that irritates your eyes, dizzy when standing up suddenly. That's a pretty minor stress. And if your body can't handle it, it's telling you something. Gut, skin, or hormone issues. That's a big one to pack into a tiny little bullet point, but these look very different from person to person. While we're going to be examining things that have a negative influence on the body, poor sleep, dehydration, too much caffeine, medications, digestive impairments, food intolerances, or poor motility, also looking at things that we know have a positive impact on recovery, examining sleep and the circadian rhythm, proper hydration, mineral balance, nourishing nutritional foundation. Always comes back to what are you actually eating? Be reducing stressors like blood sugar dysregulation or environmental stressors. We will address proper digestion so that you can utilize and absorb all the nutrients that you are consuming. We want these elements to be sustainable. As a client put it, small changes that change with me. The point of this course is for you to come out with an understanding of all the different practices that you can choose to influence your mental health or stress tolerance. This gives you ownership of your life because you are focusing on what you can control. Now, why I'm here, maybe one day we will sit together on some coffee. I'll be able to share more in depth of my personal experience in this space. But for right now, I'm just going to give you a brief overview of how I ended up here talking to you about this. So, my name's Leanna. I'm the founder of Sela Nutritional Therapy. I fell in love with food one summer in high school from going through Taste of Home magazines in my mother's kitchen. I never looked back. I followed this all through culinary school, starting my own custom cake business, and then eventually through training for nutritional therapy, which is where I am now. So, somewhere in the years between making custom cakes and NTA training, I started having babies and I really started getting sick. My husband and I joke that each of our kids stole an element of my health. This is a joke, but it's also very true. It started with an autoimmune disorder, insulin resistance, chronic migraine, chronic inflammation, thyroid disorder, eventually a diagnosis in severe OCD and major depression. So each of these elements played a role in leading me here. I was sick and frustrated, and the doctors weren't helping me how I wanted them to. Often I was crying on the way home from these appointments because it was just one more dead end. I had to go through these experiences and figure it out on my own, and this took years of trial and error. There was this pivotal moment when I was struggling with severe OCD that I sat up in bed and said to my husband, maybe we should handle this more practically. And that day, I remember Googling for the very first time foods that help depression. Like many of you, I started with Google, learning a lot of things through personal experience, but even more so in clinical practice after formal training. And I'll be walking you through what actually works to move that needle. So that's why I'm here, so that you don't have to take all the time and effort and frustration that I did to figure it out how to improve your own health. And I like this from Florence Nightingale, and I attribute my success to this, that I never gave or took an excuse. In our very first video, we are going to talk about sleep quality, and I will see you there.